Yo, what up? It's Amaje back with another video, and today we gonna be reacting to horror movie villains that were introduced earlier on in the movie. Something like that. I kind of like exaggerated it a little bit, but like, let's see what they got and let's see. Because like off the bat, I could just like name Scream because that was so obvious. Probably not when I watched it, but like when I started watching it a second time, you kind of get the gist of it. But all right, let's get into it.
The years, horror fans have become accustomed to the sorts of warning signs that come with a horror movie villain's big reveals. But
Hmm.
sometimes, writers decide to flex their creative muscles and sprinkle their villains in earlier than either the audience or the characters realise. From subtle messages to figures standing in the background, there are some great horror movie villains that have been stalking from the shadows. And so, with that in mind, I'm Ellie with What Culture, here with 10 horror movie villains secretly introduced way earlier than you realise. Number 10. The Crawlers in The Descent. Arguably one of the greatest British horror movies ever made, The Descent is
This
the
is actually
terrifying tale
such
of
a good
Sarah
movie.
and her group of adrenaline junkie friends being trapped in a never-ending maze of cave tunnels. The
I think I've seen
claustrophobic
this one
feel
coming
of the
already.
film, coupled with the rising paranoia among the group, makes the sudden reveal of the real villains of the piece even more terrifying. The caves the women are trapped in
Oh,
are revealed to be infested by pale white
bro, they
creatures known as
chomped them up.
crawlers. The monsters hunt the group down, but one scene in particular shows that the crawlers have been following the women even longer than the audience might have first realised. With Juno, one of the group members, illuminating a cavern with one of her flares, a wide shot shows all of the women's shadows staring at the environment around them. To the far left is another figure standing away from the group, which, for those who actually catch a glimpse of the figure, might just dismiss as being one of the
I actually
women.
didn't catch
However,
that.
when the figure
Okay.
crouches down like an animal, the truth is far more horrifying. It's another small detail for the film, but one that adds so much more terror. Number 9. The Canker Man in Before I Wake. Before he was
Never
taking
seen
over
this movie.
Netflix with masterpieces like The Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass, Mike Flanagan was foraying into the world of horror with 2016's Before I Wake. The film follows the story of a young boy named Cody who, after being adopted by parents to be Jesse and Mark, is revealed to have an ability that brings his dreams and nightmares into the real world. The film is a poignant look at childhood phobias, with the chief baddie of the flick being what Cody describes as the Canker Man, a manifestation of all the terrors that come from his mother dying from cancer. In one of Cody's early demonstrations of his abilities, Jesse and Mark are greeted by a swarm of butterflies visiting them in their living room. One black moth lands on Jesse and bites her hand, though not much attention is given against what is shown to be an otherwise magical moment. However, the darkness surrounding this moth is subtly shown wrapping around the doorframe and goes upstairs, showcasing the Canker
That's
Man
creepy.
radiating from Cody. Number 8. Toshio in Ju-on: The Grudge. 2002's Ju-on: The
Grudge,
Grudge.
bro, the Grudge movies are like just so creepy and so like suspenseful. They kind of like stop being suspenseful like toward the middle part and the ends. I've seen so many Grudge movies. They're just like just so weird now. It's so weird and convoluted to me. Like like it's a good series, but like just like, I just hate when movies are getting convoluted with the
Which was
story.
the third entry to the Japanese series and the first to be released theatrically in cinemas. The film centers around Takeo Saeki, a patriarch who murders his entire family after discovering his wife is in love with another man. The murder causes the family to return as vengeful ghosts, inflicting their hauntings on whomever moves into their old house. Toshio is the young son of Takeo and is responsible for some of the most terrifying moments in the film. Audiences are introduced to the young member of the family much earlier than they might have realized, however. In a scene with the elderly man Saito, he is shown to be playing peekaboo with what appears to be nothing but thin air. But when his reflection is shown in the glass, Toshio is shown to be standing right next to him. The
That's
little boy's ghost is
creepy.
only on the screen for half a second or so, but any audience members who do catch a glimpse of him are certainly in for a shock. Number 7. The cult members in Hereditary. Hereditary is a
Hereditary,
masterfully
Hereditary.
constructed flick that follows a harrowing tale of a
Still gotta get
family
around to
being
seeing
haunted
this.
by a supernatural presence. Ari Aster, in his directorial debut, creates one of the most unsettling atmospheres in the opening exchanges of his plot that most audience members were probably unsure as to what the supposed threat was, let alone where it was coming from. When the true threat to the Graham family is revealed to be the insidious cult, things begin to make much more sense. However, this threat had been teased much earlier than most picked up on. The cult are shown popping up in all manner of methods, in the attic, behind slightly open doorways, in a wide shot of the house's exterior, as well as in a chilling scene where they are shown conjuring up a payment to unnerve the family. It's a small detail that very few would have noticed on a first-time viewing, but it goes to show the detail Aster puts into his work and adds an extra dimension in revealing just how omnipresent the haunting of the Grahams truly was. Number 6. The Ghost Boy in Insidious. Insidious not only helped James Wan rise to the summit of the horror world, but also kick-started the supernatural craze that
Serious,
dominated
man.
the
We back
genre
with
in
that
the
one
early
again.
2010s. Insidious follows the story of a family whose young son has slipped into a coma, and who becomes a vessel for all
I
manner of
love this
supernatural
series,
beings who
man.
dutifully
It's just so
terrorize those
good.
around him. With such a premise, the film has also garnered a reputation for being packed full of jump scares aimed at keeping audiences on the edges of their seats. But one of the most unsettling moments in the film, for those who manage to catch it, is one of the lesser spotted details hiding in the background. In the story, Renee encounters a ghostly boy in her house while she's doing laundry. However, just a few frames before, she actually strides right past the figure in the corner of the room, already preparing to give her a fright. The camera doesn't draw
Oh,
any
no.
attention to the figure, and he blends in pretty well with the coats he's standing amongst, but it's still legitimately one of the most chilling sequences in the film for those who catch it. Number 5. La Femme in Inside. Providing the inspiration for flicks like The Strangers,
Oh, okay, okay.
2007's
Explain it right
Inside is a
now.
home invasion movie that is certainly not for the faint of heart. The film follows protagonist Sarah, a pregnant woman who is attacked by a female desperate to steal her baby from her. The film is brutal, bloody, and downright shocking at times, with the lengths which La Femme goes to making for a chilling dynamic. What most audience members might have missed out on, however, is just how far back this obsession is established. In one of the early scenes, Sarah is photographing a new family with a mother and father playing with their child. What could have been an innocent moment before the carnage unfolds,
That right there is a creepy plot. Just those little real life moments that can actually happen in real life. No monsters, no horror villain that's like indestructible. Just like real life shit. Real life stuff that can just literally put you on the edge of your seat and like be like, that can happen to me. I like horror movies like that too, because like it could just like put you in a position if that ever, God forbid, if that ever happens like one day, bro, you could just be on your seat and you'd be like, oh, I seen this movie. I seen how some of this plays out. I'm just blabbering on, but like, you never know.
figure standing in the top right of the corner makes things much more chilling. As revealed by Sarah later on, La Femme had been stalking her right from the off, with the photo she took revealing the figure stood eerily by one of the hedges. Easily missed in real time, a replay back will show the audience the woman really was standing there in the initial shot, which is sure to send a chill down the spine before the gore begins to be spilled. Number 4.
Uh,
Valak in The Conjuring.
of
The
course,
MCU
Valak.
of the horror world, one of the biggest baddies Ed and Lorraine Warren face off against in the Conjuring series is Valak, the demon nun that is shown to be the true poltergeist behind the Enfield hauntings in The Conjuring 2. Valak became such an iconic part of The Conjuring that it would be given its very own prequel in 2018's The Nun, and the series is littered with references, Easter eggs, and subtle hints.
One thing I could say about the Nun and the Nun too, they were just so boring. I'm sorry, I just like I like Conjuring movies and I like the Annabelle series, but like they were just so boring. I I couldn't get into it. Like when it's just like slow suspense like that and like little slow jump scares and like I just can't get into it.
About the demon's presence throughout the series. However, Valak's first initial appearance in The Conjuring 2 was teased right from
This
the very
moment was
get-go. The
creepy as
only way
hell.
of defeating the demon is by knowing its name, and the demon's identity pops up throughout the Warren household throughout the movie. Arts and craft supplies when Ed is painting his dream of the nun, the letters on the bookshelf when Lorraine is reading the Bible, and even in their daughter's friendship bracelet being the chief examples shown on screen. Lorraine in particular is shown to have a close relationship with the demon, so the fact Valak is is able to literally spell out her name subtly across her own home is a chilling reminder of her continued presence across the movie. Number 3. Billy and Stu in
Of
Scream.
course, Scream's
Wes
always gonna be
Craven's
on here.
Scream blew
All the Scream movies, you always will know who the killer is, but like none of them kind of really surprise me, except for probably six. Six probably. Scream Six was actually kind of surprising. I didn't like really know, but like all through them, you could just like narrow out halfway through the movie. I'm pretty sure like who the killer is, but like sometimes at the beginning you can't tell.
the horror world apart following its release in 1996. Not only was it one of
Only
the
the
first
first
titles
one
to introduce
you
characters with
can
a
tell.
meta-knowledge of the genre, but the reveal that there was not one but two villains at work the whole time caught plenty of audiences by surprise. What most people probably never spotted the first time round is that the true killers have been revealed to audiences much earlier than they realised. In the famous water fountain scene where the main characters are shown hanging out and talking about the recent murder of Casey Becker, Billy and
They
Stu
made it
can be
so
seen wearing the
obvious.
exact same kind of black boot as worn by Ghostface. They are the only two wearing footwear like this, making this the first subtle nod Craven gives to the audience about who the guilty members of the group are. Number 2. Mr. Bye-Bye in The Bye-Bye Man.
I've never seen
2017's The
this.
Bye-Bye Man is essentially the story of a mysterious entity known as Mr. Bye-Bye, a sinister demon that makes people commit horrifying acts and whose legend is passed on by muttering or thinking of his name. It's a fairly cliche-riddled and otherwise
Never,
unremarkable.
I never seen this movie, but I think I see previews of it. I always thought it was stupid, but stupid movies you always grow to like. I'm probably gonna have to give it a chance.
Flick, but the ways in which the Bye-Bye Man is teased to audiences before his eventual reveal really is where things can veer into the unsettling. One of the standout examples of these comes when Alice is shown walking through her uncle's house. A tracking shot follows her as she enters a bedroom where the camera passes a mirror on the left-hand side of the wall, revealing the figure of Mr. Bye-Bye hiding in the reflection. There's no jump scare as Alice continues on with her exploration into a small hole in the wall, revealing a wolf's head, though the subtle tactic from director Stacey Title does a stellar job in showcasing how far the film's baddie has stretched. Number 1. John Kramer in Saw. Another collaboration between James Wan and Lee Whannell, the first
Yeah,
entry in the Saw
this
franchise,
one
is
actually
for the
surprised
most
me. I
part a
didn't know
low-budget
nothing.
mystery surrounding the identity of a serial killer known as the Jigsaw Killer. The two main protagonists of the movie, Adam and Lawrence, spend the majority of the film locked in a bathroom where they are introduced to a man who has apparently committed suicide. Little do they or the audience know this is the man responsible for all of the events of the film, and his reveal at the end of the film remains one of the great twist endings in horror movie history. But on top of already being teased throughout the entire film, there are even more signs about the identity of the Jigsaw Killer sprinkled that audiences might not have picked up on. The most striking of these comes when Lawrence is talking about one of his cancer patients to his students, who is revealed to be a man named John Kramer. John is asleep in his bed when Lawrence stops by, but in his notebook, audiences can see a detailed sketch of Jigsaw's most infamous trap, the reverse bear trap used on Amanda Young earlier in the film.
Right. Yeah, some of these actually were surprising, but a lot of these, like I said in the other video, I gotta see these and like test them out. I never want to be like idiotic to like basically not checking out a movie before I like kind of judge it. So, but hey, if you guys enjoyed this reaction, leave a like and subscribe. That would be very much appreciated. But I'll check you guys out in the next video.
Fuck it, that in a coupe, oh yeah. Got a pipe full of red.